the final panel of the day, or the second panel of SparkMe conference, coming from Belgrade, to my farthest left, Danica Niki Radišić. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
Niki, could you please give us a few, and I say a few sentences about yourself?
I'll try to be as short as possible. One could say that I am a serial entrepreneur, very versatile, a bit perhaps dual personality, triple, quadruple. And currently, and for a while now, I've been an integrated corporate communications specialist.
And you're the co-founder of the Startup of the Year?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
The majority stakeholder.
Okay, coming in from Poland, Marcin Smaczyński. Marcin, please give us a few sentences as a background about yourself.
I just wanted to thank you very much for coming here. Anyway, as you mentioned, I am from Poland, so this is a great experience to me also to be here to see how the startups working in this area of Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia. It's fantastic. I am co-founder of the Web.me. That's why I came here, because we have created the responsive website builder for small medium business, and we decided to give it really brandable name, and we managed to get the Web.me domain.
Okay, so you would like to thank?
I would like to very much to thank you to EMI Registry for that. It's very helpful.
And the middle seat, the hot one, goes to Nikola Sologub from Novi Sad.
Hello. We have amazing days here. I'm Nikola Sologub from Homepage, co-founder and managing director. We are Homepage, you can say Twitter Wall is our product, and we are generally digital marketing agency.
Okay, thank you. Guys, we want to make this as interactive as possible, so whenever some of you has a question, just raise your arm and keep it raised a bit. Okay, Plagos, just let me finish. And then we'll open the floors to you. So don't need to wait for like the last 5 minutes and so. Whenever you feel you have an itch, just raise your arm. And the panel has only one simple rule. And the rule is, when Niki speaks too much, then what? Niki?
Somebody should tell her to shut up.
Yeah.
And Niki usually does speak too much.
Okay. Even though she's a blonde, she gets it very quickly.
Practice.
Okay, so the name of the panel is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Starting a Startup Life. And we'll start with the good part, with the fun part. So, Marcin, could you tell us why should you start a company? Why you should go entrepreneurial?
Well, this is definitely experience that if you're going to survive this experience, it will make you much more a better person. I mean, you will understand better the other people.
Just don't mention world peace, man.
And love, no? Okay. But anyway, what startup can learn you, it can really help you to listen to the other people. I used to work in one of the biggest hosting company in Poland, and the biggest one, and it's so easy to work in a big company who has a huge brand just on your back, and the business is rolling very well, it's just going well, and all you have to do is just take care and see if everything is going smoothly. When you start a startup, when you try to create your own company from the scratches, it's a real challenge, because you have to start doing everything, and you always have to fight for your vision with some other people who don't believe in it sometimes. So it's really great experience. It's a lot of fun, because you're doing something what you wanted to do. It's very dynamic environment, so it's always very nice to be in a dynamic environment. And from my perspective, I learn so much more when I am in a startup industry, because every day is a challenge. Every day there is some new, not problems, but challenges to do. So it makes you really great experience.
Okay, Nikola, what do you think are the benefits of a startup life?
I will start from passion. Ask yourself, what is my dream? What is my passion? Should I do something? Should I make some decisions and follow that decisions, or somebody else should do that instead of me, and I will just work for that? So that is the start. That is something where you one day you wake up and you decide just to go, to create, to build, to make success stories.
Okay, thanks. Nikki, ignore the fact that we mentioned passion. We'll leave that for the third part. And this is the benefit part. So what good is starting a startup, is having a startup? You said you're a serial entrepreneur,
I'm a serial
almost said
entrepreneur.
serial killer, but okay.
Yes, for now just entrepreneur. I may move on into that sector as well. A serial entrepreneur, and I probably will continue to be my average, and I think every other serial entrepreneur is probably working on one project for up to 3 years. Why start a startup? First of all, and most importantly, because currently in today's world, in today's global economy, and especially in this regional economy, it is of the utmost necessity to begin startups. Entrepreneurship is of major importance, and gone are the times where the system will help you, where others will help you, where anyone will tell you what to do. Small and medium-sized enterprises are the way to go. Personally, why start a startup? Because, as my two colleagues here in the panel mentioned, not only is it extremely fulfilling, but it's fulfilling even when you fail. You've tried something new, you found out something new, you meet new people, you learn new things. Every bit of it is experience for your next experience and ultimately for your success. So definitely extremely fulfilling, much more than any other job you could ever do for anyone else's company.
And while we are at it, is there a right age to start something? Or should everyone try whatever age? If you're a teenager, or you're in high school, or you're a student, or you're a 50-year-old?
I'm going to go ahead and get a lot of parents angry right now, but I think even children, even minors, should be allowed to make attempts at entrepreneurship, however small they are. We've all heard of the extremely successful lemonade stands that kids have set up, literally. From my own personal experience, I was 15 years old when I realized that the way that I put it at the time, I told my father, I'm a worker, I'm not an intellectual, regardless of how many books I've read and how many books I'll read and all the information that, all the utterly unnecessary information that I have stored in my head. But at 15, I realized that I was a worker. I wanted to get my hands in the dirt, soak it up, and see the results. That is what I love. I love seeing the results, whatever they may be. Even if they don't work, at least I found out that it doesn't work that way. My father, of course, did not allow me to do this. It was a long, hard 3 or 4 years. I went on to college, which in my case, although I have tremendous respect for higher education, in my case, luckily, I did not finish college. I did not waste any more of my time. I went on to start my own businesses, learn a lot from both my failures and my successes. And my father, a year and a half ago, admitted to me that he made a mistake and that he should have let me drop out of school when I was 15 and go on to work. So that's another success, having my father realize that, but I don't regret his decisions or mine.
Okay, thanks. Nicola, should you go at it alone, or should you have a team? And if you think you should have a team, what personal traits were you looking for in your team members?
Yeah, absolutely. Entrepreneurs have to have co-founders and a team. Why? Because co-founders are great because, you know, there's somebody else, some freak or whatever you call him, that believes in your ideas and your dream also besides you. Why else? You always have to produce values, have to sell, and have to manage the things. And there's no person in the world, actually I really believe there's no person in the world that can handle all those three things: producing, selling, and managing. Even Richard Branson in his autobiography, in first, I don't know, 15 pages, was constantly saying about we, our team, our people, our work, and finally he says me as a person, as oneself. So yes, absolutely, go fund for a team and share your dreams together.
And which one of the three roles do you play in your team?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm taking care of finances and overall management.
So all the money goes to you, that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's always the best part. Marcin, there's been a lot of talk about passion, and then there was a comment from the audience that passion is a great thing and stuff, but it doesn't pay bills. You have some things that you need to pay on a day-to-day basis, and that takes money. So how do you, let's say, make a link between passion, between what people want, and between what you want?
Well, I think it's something very linked to what Nicola said about the team. From my perspective, it's very important that the team will believe in the project from the beginning, because it's great when your startup is starting to be profitable after 1 month of launch. That's great. It's great success, but it's very often it will take some little more extra time. It can take even some months before the startup will gather some money, and it's very important that the whole team will have a pure vision of the product and believe in the product, even if there is no strong data of success yet, like money. So, regarding your question, what is the link between the money and passion? It's of course the team members need to have the salary. That's something what we as a co-founders need to make sure that they will, even if there's no profit. But what is even more important, the whole team needs to understand how much important is to make the product profitable. That it's not about just the graphic, it's not about the front end, it's not about the back end, the data. It's all about to create the product as a package, as a full package. So everyone is responsible for some part of the package, and at the end, the success of the product, it's a work of all team. But the failure of the products, I think, basically, it's also some part of the whole team. It's not only one member who makes something wrong, because the team is like family here, especially at the beginning. So it's very important to keep it together.
Okay, Nikki, you're not really a firm believer in follow your passion, follow your gut, and make something cool mantra.
No, I'm not. I like cool things. I do like gadgets. I don't fall in love with them, and I don't think anyone else should. Making something cool is great. Being innovative is great. But the real progress that we need, well, let me put it plainly, although I'm going to disappoint a few people, maybe bring some spirits down. But what you really need to do when starting a startup is identify a hole in the market, identify a need, fulfill consumers' needs, not make something cool. Make something cool out of it later, okay? Pretty it up later. There are a lot of sites and a lot of businesses, whether online or offline out there, small businesses that have made it big. One was already mentioned here today at least once, I know that for a fact, and that's Zappos, a company that we all love. I think we all love.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah? I know you do. The thing is, they identified a need, and that's exactly something that was mentioned here just recently on this very stage. Also, most of the major, if we're looking at online businesses or IT businesses, ICT businesses, most of the major ones in the world today are flukes. They're accidents. They are not today they are not what they started out as. What they did do, however, the vast majority of them is identify a need. They came out of a point. They usually come out of somebody's, whether personal need or a need that someone identifies with personally. Recently, I saw a video about a startup that gained it's a service, it's an online service. I believe it is, and I wish somebody would Google this for me right now. I think it's brandyourself.com. And they got 60,000 users overnight or within 48 hours. The whole startup is a necessity. The guy who created it actually recognized the necessity. His name, first name and last name. All right, he's not exactly a straight A student, not a 4.0 grade point average, but I don't know, say a 3.8 grade point average in college. So a great student, did a ton of extracurricular activities, some humanitarian work, all of that, all around good kid. So he was trying to get an internship, but couldn't get an internship because there was a dope dealer out there with his first and last name. So when potential employers would Google him, they would find this guy who was approximately his age, assume that it was him, and they would just forget about his application. So he made a service that actually, as I understand it, kind of fixes that problem somewhat, where you fill in on the service your personal social media profiles, websites, blogs, whatever, kind of to give Google that plug or other search engines that plug, like, hey, this is really me, not too sure about the other stuff. And now businesses are actually using it because it actually gets you on the first page of Google. Now, I don't know how, by the way, this kid is not in IT exactly. I don't remember exactly what he is. Again, I do wish that somebody would Google this immediately, but, sorry? The link you gave is correct. It is? All right, so if, I don't know, we could look up what his name is or whatever, but I just found this, it's very simple. So the notion of finding something, try looking for it, if you're thinking of starting a startup, try looking for it either through yourself and your own needs, because that's what you're gonna be able to solve best. Or, by the way, Vanya, in like 10 seconds, it's about time for somebody to tell me to shut up. Or try looking through it through your own vicinity, the people around you that you know that have issues. I know of another person who started something for blind people because he had two blind people in his, whether family or friends or whatever, so he understood their needs. So definitely identify the needs in the market. Thank you.
Marcin, any drawbacks to the startup life? Any day that you regretted starting it?
No regrets, definitely no regrets.
Drawbacks, for sure.
What?
Any drawbacks, any negative things about your startup life? It's not all unicorns and rainbows, man.
Yeah, it's not, but we just launched it like 6 months ago. I think definitely what we were planning to do, we thought at the beginning that it would be much, much easier to sell the product. I used to work on the other startup in Poland. It's called premium.pl. It used to be for aftermarket domain. I knew this market very well, and it was a product especially for the local market, for Polish market, and it was a success. And after that, I thought, okay, if I made a startup who is having a good money, it's have a strong position now on aftermarket in Poland, let's do something on international market. And that was the biggest challenge of me now, because I know that international market, it's really difficult. It's not so easy to do something that everyone will buy. I mean, if you know your local market, then the only thing that I regret at the beginning is that maybe I was a little too optimistic, but it doesn't mean that I regret the whole decision. It's just only show me that it's really not so easy to work on international markets, because each market is a different, it's not like you create something, maybe if it is Facebook, but still you need to understand that some products are good for some markets, but not are the perfect one for the other market. And this is something what each co-founder have to remember when he create the startup. But I do not regret what has been done so far. We're learning very fast. I think that Ryan from About Me said something that if you make some mistakes, do it fast. And this is a really great experience also for me, that if we know that something is going wrong, we just or some decision, some direction is not the best one. We thought it would be a good one, but it's not correct. Then we have to just change decision very fast to not waste any more time, because in a startup the most valuable thing it's a time. It's not money, it's time.
Nicola, any day that you regretted starting a marketing agency and said, why on earth did I need this? Why didn't I join McCann or WPP or some other agency?
Absolutely not. Is it stressful? Yeah, sure, it is. Painful also. Entrepreneurs suffer their friendship, also family relations, and there's too many things on the world that simply have to be sacrificed. But the joy and creating success stories, and when you see your ideas, your products are getting proved as a concept, it's the best thing in the world. So absolutely not. I never worked for anybody or for other company. My first thing was freelancing, and then I started web agency, and then found my way through Facebook and digital agency as a path to the future. So yes, after this I asked myself for 2-3 times, should I work for someone else? Maybe experience that I can get from such a life story can be useful, but I don't know, I think I will see everything on my own, and that's the way it is.
Okay, so first question incoming.
Hi, I'm Mattia, student of electrical engineering. You mentioned the international market, and before that, all three of you mentioned the importance of a team that is working on a startup. Now, when going international, what do you suggest? Does it need to? Do we need to expand team with other people from other environments, other countries? I don't know.
You mean, should you make your team international when you're going international?
Yes. Should you make your team international?
Okay, so the expert on international relations, Nikki.
Well, not really, but if you're ready for internationalization, then I'm supposing this isn't a startup anymore. I'm supposing that it's let's call it a late stage startup, close to being established. So first of all, you have to be ready for internationalization. You have to reach that peak. You have to mature for it. Otherwise, the actual startup will go bust. Probably, you know what, a lot of the time, and you may have noticed this, people around the world often have similar ideas. Again, we get back to that people often in different regions of the world and in different countries recognize the same or similar needs. So what I would suggest first is going out there, looking at some of the markets where you might want to expand, and finding possible strategic partners. Not people concretely, because you're going to have a company culture already. Again, at this stage, I'm supposing 3 or 4 years at least of very hard work, of very sleepless nights, of some people giving up, of other people coming in, of all sorts of hectic situations. So if you make it through that, then instead of into something that is actually finally functional, bringing in more people. Branko, stop bobbing your head around. I cannot see the man. Thank you. So instead of doing that, try searching for strategic partnerships, kind of leveraging some of the work, leveraging a lot of the risk, and finding someone who's already had experience in that market, who's not just somebody from that market, but who is either actually actively trying to create something similar. Again, it doesn't have to be identical. It could even be different strategic partners from different areas in different markets. So, food for thought.
Marcin?
From my perspective, it's very important to make some research before you're going to go to some market. Make really research of the market. Is there any competition on the market regarding your product? Are you going to be the first one, or is already a huge competition? The other thing that the gathering the data of your own product, for example, where are you taking the traffic from? In WebMe, we were quite surprised that we have a quite huge traffic from USA. When we say that website builders in US are quite high competitive, but still we have a traffic from them. So when you see where the traffic are coming from, then you see that maybe there is some opportunity. If people are coming to your website, it means that they're looking for something. But as I said, the biggest challenge is what was mentioned, it's to make research and to find a local partner. I mean, if I would like to conquer the Finland, I really have no chance, because if I don't know the language, if I don't know the culture, even if I would make some research about the market, I still need someone who knows how to communicate with the Finnish guys. I don't know how to communicate with them, but I'm sure we have a great example, you know, in Poland. There was a huge company, 1&1, maybe you heard about it, the hosting company. They came to Poland, they spent a lot of money, but they make copy-paste of the marketing activities and communication as they used to do in Germany. It working very well in Germany, it did not work in Poland. They wanted to be on the third place after a few years after they launched, but they are not. And the reason of that is because they did not understand at the beginning the Polish mentality, how to communicate with the Polish user, with the small medium business. So it's all about to understand your customer in each market. If you know how to communicate with them, then you can do it your own, if you see the chance. If you don't know, find a local partner who will help you. Without, it will be quite difficult.
Okay, the only way to wake up the audience is a typical Balkan way to mention the government. So there's been a lot of talk on the role of the government in the startup industry, in the startup scene in these 1.5 days. So Dr. Oper was saying about the role of the government in Israel and about it creating stuff in the industry. But then Dragan Močević tweeted out that unfortunately, usually the role of the government in the Balkans is not to create, but to steal. And then today, Melik from Skype said that Estonian president is heavily and actively promoting startup culture and the transformation of Estonia from a highly industrial country to a startup nation. So let's start with Nicola. What do you think should be the role of the government, and did you have any experiences with the government, either positive or negative so far?
Actually, we are successfully avoiding contacts with the government because they're too slow for startups. They're too robust. They're not flexible. So we tried at the beginning with some investment projects and all that administrative stuff, but it takes for 3 months to do something, to make some decisions, and that's a pretty long time for one startup, because we in 3 months, in that first 3 months, we exponentially grow. So when we received their response in I don't know, tons of papers, actually that decision was not did not have any value anymore for us.
Marcin?
Well, I can say about the situation in Poland, if you're interested. Our government, unfortunately, did not support very much startup society community as much as they could. But you know, we are in the European Union. There is a lot of funds for this kind of activities in European funds. So, for example, now when Croatia has became a partner, I think that you will have a great opportunity also to use those funds. The problem with the European Union is only that it's all about bureaucracy. Yeah, so the papers. So it's quite a lot of paperwork before you get the fund, and you really need to give the paper for each euro that you're going to spend, which is not very flexible. My friends who launched one of the startups based on the European funds, they did not put some paper on a time to the European community, and they had a very dangerous situation, because they get a feedback that in that case, because they did not put the documentation on the time, they will have to refund the whole amount that they received for the startup. So I think that it's great that the funds like this exist, but it's very bad that they have very strict regulation. There is no flexibility here. I think this is something what can be very dangerous for a startup.
should we let Nikki, or do you want to add something? Okay, Dr. Oper.
Nikki is before, so it's...
Okay, so Nikki, I know this is apart from soufflé au chocolat, this is your favorite topic, so keep it short and sweet.
I wouldn't call it my favorite topic. I just think it is definitely one of the most important topics in the market. Again, going back to that whole thing about how important small and medium-sized enterprises are in any market, and in particular in the Balkans. Well, I'm just going to be me and call it what it is. A lot of those European funds are currently available and have been for years. In fact, millions are going back into the European treasury that are being offered in both Serbia and Montenegro. But I believe everyone who lives here and who has worked a day in these countries knows that you cannot avoid the government or some government institution getting in the way there. And let's call it what it is, corruption. Corruption is the issue, so it's a huge risk even trying to go for those funds. It's a huge risk in the sense of a waste of time and money that most people here absolutely do not have. I would love if we could be as organized as Estonia. I would love if we could be as persistent and look as far into the future as Israel. But in the Balkans, that is not going to happen. We just don't have that tradition. We don't have that know-how. It is not, we don't trust foreign advisors that we bring in. And when I say we, I'm talking about our governments, because as citizens, we are responsible for our own governments. Complain as we might, we are the ones who brought them there. What countries in the Balkans need is the mechanisms and the systems to simply allow entrepreneurs to work, period. Make it simple, make it work, we will pay the taxes, we won't mind, we will work our butts off, just give us the mechanisms, make them short, make them fast. Make them expensive if you need to, but make them short, make them fast, let us work.
Dr. Oper.
Okay, since you mentioned my name, and again, I am a guest here, so I am not going to criticize. So I want in 2-3 minutes to give it again a general macro level, and my understanding, and I know almost all the world. By the way, I was chairing like 20-25 bilateral funds between Israel. I can tell you stories about Singapore, Korea, Russia, the United States, Brazil, whatever. So the point is that if you are dealing with risky entrepreneurship or risky R&D, this is the goal of the real stuff, you can't do it without the government, no matter if the government is okay or not, because all over the world there are governments that are supporting this stuff directly and some indirectly. I'll give you numbers about the United States. So the mecca of the capitalism, all this bullshit, that you saw what happened last 5 years or so, think about the fact that the defense budget of the United States is larger, on the average for tens of years, is larger than the aggregate of all the defense budget of all the 15 countries that are following the United States, including everyone. And the real part of this budget is invested in technology. So they have huge infrastructure that at the end of the day is helping startupists. But it's okay, it's not a government fund. It's not true. But here it's not the United States and even not like in Israel. But for example, in the beginning of the 90s, 25 years ago or so, the government of Israel was the the government established the VC industry of Israel, which is very famous. The government, not the private market.
But the key word you mentioned is vision. So
Of
do you
course,
think there is clear vision in this part of the world?
I just want to point something which is the majority do not understand it, but it's difficult to feel. I am a believer on this startup business. You have the point of view of the entrepreneur / founder, the investor, and so on. From the nation point of view, listen exactly to the sentence. From the nation point of view, a failing startup is almost the same beneficial as a succeeding one. Because what is working here is the spillover of the knowledge and everything. From the government point of view, it doesn't matter if the startup is failing. We are talking all these 2 days about failures from the point of the founder and the entrepreneur. But each point is different. And something, since I was also in Europe, talking about the European funds, it is today more easier to take those funds even in this area than several years ago. And the point is, remember that usually government's support usually is giving, according to some rules, even there is a bureaucracy, but without taking any equity. So private investors usually are taking equity. And sometimes from the point of the entrepreneur, I mean the founder, it's much better. So you know this stuff. So it's a crucial point. So go ahead with the government. I really thought that someone from the government here will appear in this conference. So.
A lot of them got the invitation, but none of them actually showed up. Nikki.
As I told, I am a guest here. So.
Dr. Oper, you know how much I love picking your brain. So please view what I'm about to say as more of a thesis that I would like your opinion on, more than a rebuttal. First of all, I absolutely agree with Dr. Oper that the government must and should be even the driving force in research development, in building entrepreneurship, in expanding markets and building the market and creating a solid market. But here's the thing, and let me make a very simple analogy. I also agree that it is every parent's responsibility to do absolutely everything that they can to support their child to become a fully responsible, whole, happy human being. Now, if that parent is, for some reason, weak, an alcoholic, for example, or not in the right mental state and not able to raise that child well, which is the situation with most of our governments in the Balkans, they are literally ill. They are basically ill. They cannot function. Should not that child be emancipated and allowed to find its own way and its own path without having to be stuck to that particular parent? Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. The government doesn't have its own support. The governments. It's pretty much all the same mess. I would say it's pretty much all the same mess in a lot of Eastern European countries now. We've got a mess in the Czech Republic. We've got what's going on in Bulgaria, which we're not really sure what's going on anymore. They're going to lose another government. These governments are pretty much like alcoholic parents. So busy wallowing in their own self-pity and their own addiction that they are unable to help entrepreneurs build an economy.
Okay, we have a question from Twitter for all of the speakers, panelists. It says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you measure your success of your business? On a scale from 1 to 10. Marcin.
Honestly, I think it's too early stage to say about the success or not success or failure.
Okay, but we don't need you to die and then to get it. So your current one.
Okay, the current status is, let's say, like 7.
Nicola?
11.
So when you say 11, does that mean there is no room to improve?
Yeah, there's always room to improve, but
12 to 13 or what?
yes, but if our business plan was 1 to 10, and we are over our estimated aims, so yeah, about 10% over, so it's 11.
But those are current aims. The guy was talking about your vision.
Almost the same.
Okay. Nikki?
What's the scale?
1
to 10?
Originally it was 1 to 10. Nicola
1 to
increased
10,
it to
1 to
11.
11. Business in general in my life, 3. I'm not even close to where I want to be yet.
Okay, so huge dreams.
Not dreams, goals.
Okay. Some of the last part of the panel is the pain, the ugly part. And one of the guys in the audience tweeted about, I hear the words pain, I hear the words suffering, I hear the words tears, I hear the words sleepless nights, but I still want to do it. But before I let you guys discuss, I just want to tell him, just go and do it. Don't tweet about it, don't think about it. If you want to do it, then do it. Okay, Nicola, why should he do it and not just tweet about it?
He will have sleepless nights and
Yeah, he knows that, but why should he do it?
whatsoever. It doesn't matter if he's in startup or not. It's just part of life, and yeah, go and risk.
Marci?
I think that when I think about this, you know, I see this. I don't know. Have you seen the Braveheart? There's a scene. The guy is on the horse before the battle, and the people want to quit, and he said that, okay, but when you are getting old and you will be in your bed, you will do anything to go back to this time and go to fight. And they were screaming, yeah, and they're going to kick some English ass.
Yeah, and they killed them all.
Yeah, of course. But the point is that it's all about startups somehow. It's a battlefield. But if you're not going to do it, you will regret for sure. It doesn't matter if you succeed or not, you will regret. That's what I think.
Okay, Nikki?
Absolutely. When we mention pain, we actually do mean physical pain. We do mean sometimes breaking things. I have, for the past 6 years or so, 7 ended up in the emergency room on average 2 to 3 times a year, mostly due to exhaustion, dehydration, extremely low blood pressure. I think I've learned. I've only been to the emergency room once this year. So I think I've learned. But, you know, ask yourself this. If you're thinking of going into business, first of all, there's one thing we mentioned, there's that whole dilemma, should you quit your job immediately or not and give up for it? No. By all means, no. Do get some sort of financial, you know, whether it's freelancing or it's full-time work, but do something while you build this thing that you're passionate about. And just like the pain, when we say passion, we mean the deepest passion. We mean sometimes blinding passion. That will make you hit the wall, by the way. But ask yourself a simple question, you know, 30, 40 years from now, could you live with yourself if you didn't try? That's all. You know, whether you're going to have the sleepless nights now because you're working your butt off, or you're going to have the sleepless nights when you're 50, 60 years old, not satisfied with your life, and lying there in bed staring at the ceiling, counting all the things that you regret you never did. Make that choice. Do you want to, you know, do you want to have these tiny little daily regrets? Why didn't I sleep last night or 3 nights in a row today? Or do you want to regret an entire wasted lifetime in 30 or 40 years?
Okay, time for one last question from the audience.
They don't want to talk to us anymore.
Yes, as soon as you mentioned government and stuff.
But I'm
then-
surprised nobody said, Nikki, shut up.
And Milutin was installing some weird cameras there, so that's probably it. Okay, the guy with the pain, tears, and sleepless nights wants to add something.
One more question about the funding. I don't know what choice did you make, but I
either giving up part of your equity, getting a loan, or maybe giving some sort of royalty in the process?
It depends. We could discuss this immensely. What kind of a startup is it? How much investment does it require? A lot or a little? What's the risk? What's the size of your team? What are the realistic chances that you can get this team, like Nikola said, a passionate team on board without getting a major investment? So it all depends on the size of your business, how long it'll take to develop, and how large your team needs to be. You know, give me those three factors and I'll tell you which way I would recommend going. You know, I'm not against any sort of funding. I'm not against giving away equity. It's just not every kind of funding is right. I was, for example, for my agency, for some reason that I don't even understand why in the first year of business, offered actually to somebody to come in and buy part of the equity, and I said no right off the bat because I knew I could bootstrap it, and you know I know I can bootstrap it again. It's, you know, a small risk that could go big. So absolutely no. In that sense, no one can touch that agency. But other businesses, joint ventures that I start, yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I will wrap it up with the final sentence at the presentation of my favorite professor ever, J.B. Kasarjian from Harvard Business School. He completed by saying, go out right now and create something. Create something that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you right now. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you, guys. Clap it up.